Good evening. Thank you very much for watching Goodwin Live. It's the 6th of July and we have 4 guests on this evening. So let's have a look at who we've got on and what's been going on. We've obviously got, before we do start, the first live boxing on Friday night, Frank Warren's show on BT Sports. So a lot to look forward to for us that have been missing the boxing for quite a while. But say Friday night, we're back on there. And what's been happening at our end? We've been working very hard at trying to put something in place for our fighters that we can't go into yet, but it's something we are working on, and we are very hopeful that at some point in the future we will be able to unveil some very, very exciting and progressive news that will benefit our boxers. So a lot working on behind the scenes. Although we're fairly quiet at the moment, we are still doing a lot of work behind the scenes for you. So we have 4 guests this evening, and I'll go back to back. At around 7:30, we have got the former Southern Area Cruiserweight Champion Daniel Mendes on, and Daniel will be on discussing about where his career is going from now. Prior to Daniel Mendes, Ricky Heavens comes on. He's a young man, he's only 22, he's lost 1 in 10, and he'll be talking about the break that he's had and what he's hoping for in the future out of boxing. Before Ricky, we've got Conor McIntosh on. Now, Conor hasn't made his debut yet, but he's a very exciting fighter, and we're looking forward to that immensely. And before that, we have Ifran Khalid on, and we're exciting times ahead for Ifran. He's charged Sajid Abid. We were hoping to get Ozzy Jervier on today. I think there's been miscommunication there, but Ozzy, we're looking forward hopefully to get on next week, because Ozzy will have a big story to tell you about his role as a journeyman and a role as a previous title contender. So there's a hell of a lot to talk about with Ozzy. But today we're going to start off with a man that is not your typical boxing trainer. He's going to tell you a story about how he came into boxing, what he's doing in boxing, and what he does in the day. His name's Ifran Khalid. If you've not heard from him before, he's got a very interesting story, and we're going to speak to Ifran now. Let's wait for Ifran to come on board. Ifran, how are you?
Hi there, Steve. Good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. So how's the world been treating you during COVID? Because let's start off by saying, if you tell everybody who's watching, obviously a lot of people watch this delayed, what you do outside of being a boxing coach.
So I'm a GP. I'm a partner in practice in Derby. So we've got about 20,000 patients. Also, I work for the Out of Hours, which covers the whole of Derbyshire, north and south. So yeah, as you can imagine, with the coronavirus pandemic, it's been very, very busy. Completely different way of working, but it's just been very busy. So yeah.
Have you enjoyed your actual job as much, or has it just been more challenging and difficult?
The job is always enjoyable. Aspects of it are not, and part of that is because when you're dealing with patients, sometimes, or a lot of times, you're dealing with them when things aren't going so well for them. So most people only come to the GP if they've got a problem. So it's enjoyable to help, but sometimes it's not so enjoyable when you're going through that with your patients.
So tell me how you got into boxing.
It was, to be honest, it was by chance, really, by luck. And I say by luck. So Sajid's boxed for about, I think, 5 years now. And when he started, he always been told he's got potential, and always used to watch from afar. After about 3 fights in, I think it was like 3 years, we were at a family wedding, so it was my sister's wedding, and one of our uncles, he was talking to Sajid and just saying, "Look, I've heard a lot about you, yet here you are, not having done anything. What's gone on?" And as I think most young guys, all going to be, other people's problems. So we sat down and said, okay, what are they? Let's go through them and give it, really at 22, 23, this is your real last shot. So we'll support you fully, but you've got to show us that you're committed. So my uncle, who's based in Crawley, said to me, look, you're in Derby, I want you to take charge of that. So it was kind of more, not for Saj, but more for my uncle. I said, fine, I'll do it. And one of the first things was, it was really just the simple thing that, the second he said to me, I'm a professional boxer, I said, right, if you're going to use the term professional for me, you have to behave like one. And when you consider yourself a professional, it doesn't matter what field you're in, there are attributes and characteristics which are universal. So first time we met, it's obvious you're from a professional background. Maybe not, now in boxing you are, but your history in the financial, as a financial advisor. But there are certain aspects of your personality, your traits, which you used in boxing. That's why you're successful as you are. So it was kind of my role at the start was really trying to get him to understand what being a professional actually means. And that means that not only just the commitment to your training, your development as a boxer, but as a professional, that is your job, or you want it to be your job. So, focusing on the financial side, the marketing side, understanding that you and your exposure is your biggest asset. And so how you don't just give it up to people just because they're willing to give you a small amount, understand your value and how you can get the most out of that. So we started off, as I said, no experience in training or coaching, and it helps being a GP that I understand a bit about the body. So certain things that, it seems to be that boxers do or within the boxing community, there's no real evidence for it being of use other than it's what they've always done. So we need to continue. So it's sort of, we tried to get him a trainer, and there was, just didn't quite work out, didn't gel right. And it was that kind of that situation where at the moment, no trainer, where are we going to go with that? So I said, look, for a bit of a laugh, I thought, I'll be a seconds because I'll be your cut man. And it was also kind of convincing the family that, look, I'll be in his corner. So if I've got to throw the towel in, don't worry, I'll throw it in, and I'll drag him out there if I have to. So just, don't worry, he's in safe hands. And it just kind of, from there, it just kind of went from there, really, is that we found that it worked. It worked in the sense that the trust that the two of us developed. So we started off sort of training out of my gym in my garage with nothing, basically. And at the start, I think he was training me more than me training him on how to hold pads and what have you. So from that point of view, the plan has always been, and I keep saying it, we need to find him a proper trainer. Because part of it is the recognition that he has got the potential, but having potential means nothing. You've got to unlock it, and you've got to have the right people around you to help you do that. So the last sort of 2.5 years has been all about me sort of saying, right, I'm supporting you, but we're going to find a trainer. And just various things for whatever reason. It's basically been me and him. I say me and him, but I'll be honest, I've got to give a huge shout out to Kevin. Absolutely, without a doubt, the wheels would have fallen off probably within the first 6 months if it wasn't for Kevin and yourself. Kevin, for me, has just really helped, encouraged, supported. He's been up quite a few times to help and guide us. He's been to the fight. So it's been that thing where it's the support he's been giving has allowed me to get here. So last year we were in Saudi, and again, it was just a brilliant experience for me personally, talking to the trainers there, seeing how the boxers work, but not just that, speaking to some of the more sort of backroom staff, so the managers that were there, the guys that they brought in to organise the show. And it just exposed you to a whole new level of what goes on with boxing. And at the moment, I'm still sort of, I would say I'm his coach, but we try and get support from others. So one of our cousins, Asker, he's a professional coach. He will support, like I said, Kevin and a couple of the guys that, will help out. And we're just moving. We're just trying to do our best with him from there. So for me, it's that whole thing of just trying to get him and I suppose and myself to get the best out of him as much as we can. And so far, that it's been working quite well. But again, you know, for me, it's about recognizing your own limitations. And my personal sort of ambition has always been to see Sajid, you know, stand on his own 2 feet, you know, not just as a boxer, but as a man. You know, he is the business, not me. And he needs to understand every aspect. So the trainer's just going to come and support him. You know, the manager, we're all here to support him, but truly he's got to understand it. So yeah, so it kind of stumbled into it 2.5 years down the line. You know, we've not done too bad. I know there's lots more to come from him, but part of that is, dare I say it, the recognition that, you know, the next level, really to take him to that next level, we need to find a sort of a full-time trainer with him, purely because my work is getting busier, and you know, I'm sort of doing all day long, finishing at sort of well, I supposedly finishing at 6:30, and I'll tell him we'll train at 7, and I'm still there at 7. I'm like, Sadie, I'll be there at 7:30. So he's kind of warming up twice, and you know, sort of it's sort of, we tried to make the best of what we can. So yeah, so far it's one of those things where it's been a really good journey. It's brought us to very close together, probably sometimes too close for his liking sometimes, but you know, that's just the way it goes when, as I said, I'm not just his coach, I'm his older cousin, and I'm also his boss at work. So
is this a one fighter trainer? Is this when Saj moves on, you're going to retire as a trainer? Is it just...
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I'm honest, I've enjoyed the training, but it's not for me. And the reason why is because if you're going to do something, you need to be committed, and you need to be absolutely committed. And for me, when I do something, I give it my all, and I just know that part of it is the potential Sajid has. And you know, I would say that from the boxing aspect, he carries himself. I'm just there trying to support him. As a person, yes, that's where I focus on. And so for me, it's purely, I'm here just to support Sajid. So I'm not, you know, I'm almost embarrassed to sort of call myself a trainer, because I don't think I am. You know, I don't think I've got, and I sort of, and I mean that, and that's where it's, you know, I recognise that with the right trainer, Sajid, really, I think he could go up many levels very quickly. But it's that whole thing of, I suppose, the negative aspect that I've found in boxing is, I'll consider myself an outsider prior to the last, I would say, 6 months. Before that, you know, no experience in the world. And there's this big thing about boxing's this brotherhood, everyone sticks together. I don't think it's true. I think a lot of it is people are using each other to get what they can out of it. And the biggest victims of this are often the boxers. So to me, it's that whole thing of, it's getting the people around who are going to support him and get the best out of him. And like I said, for me, you know, I just think that I've enjoyed it, but my enjoyment, not so much the boxing, is just seeing him grow, you know, as a person, as a boxer, meeting people like yourself and Kevin. That's been my enjoyment. And you know, I don't think I'd have the ability or time to turn around and commit to somebody else and say, right, I'm going to take you somewhere. I don't think I could. And if you ask Sajid, I think he'd be probably telling you that, God, you know what, if he's on your team, he is really going to be at your ear a lot. So I don't know whether if someone wasn't my little cousin, they'd put up with half the stuff I put him through.
But I mean, it's been great change. And I do pick up on one thing you said just now, which is the fact that when you come in, people go, it's one big family, it's one big people, everybody looks after everybody. I found when I came into it, it's nothing like that at all. And I found the same thing that you found, and that's for sure. It's not like that. It isn't like that.
No, it's sad. I mean, what I feel really sorry for is that, you know, to be a professional boxer, you have to be so committed, and these guys are putting everything in. You know, forget your sort of elites, your TV boxers. I'm talking about, you know, your everyday professional boxers. These guys are trying to hold down jobs, families. You know, they go through all the stresses and strains that the rest of us do, but then they're also trying to train on top. And the biggest thing is a lot of them don't seem to have that person around them to tell them that, you know, everything is relying upon you. You know, you are the person that makes it all work. But you often see them and they kind of get almost pushed into this thought process that, you know, it's everyone else that without everyone else they can't do anything. Don't get me wrong, the manager's role, like your role, the promoter's role, again, often I've heard a lot of boxers, they don't understand that role. So, a lot of the thing is like, oh, well, why can't you put on a show? Why can't you get it back on? And they don't understand everything that's involved in doing that. And that it's not just a case of that, you're looking at boxers as commodities, right? I'm going to get what I can out of them. You're trying to support their career, but sometimes they don't understand the legalities of it. They don't understand how, bringing together a show, the amount of people involved, the people you employ, their safety, everything. They don't understand that. And these are the type of conversations that, unfortunately, it seems that a lot of them don't learn until they're towards the twilight of their careers. And the thing I think I found disappointing was that a lot of the guys that then go on to become trainers or, try and be managers who have had that experience, they're not giving that advice to them either. And, I found that because a lot that I come across, I do hide that I'm a GP the best as I can, because most people tend to go quiet when they realise, why is this guy in your corner? Why is the doctor not, and they do find it a bit weird. So I always find it, odd that you've got that supposedly community, brotherhood supporting each other, yet the true advice, they seem to hold back, and then you're just watching new boxers going through, getting sort of disheartened and stopping. So that, to be honest, was a really disappointing sight. I was disappointed in boxing because I was led to believe that it's this big brotherhood and everyone supports everyone. And don't get me wrong, there are people who do, like I said, yourself, Kevin. I met some guys out when I was in Saudi, and they were wonderful. To me, someone who has, I'd still say, no experience in boxing, they really made me feel welcome. They were supportive, guiding me, advising me. One or two people, they sort of were keen on making me feel that they were more experienced, but that I think is probably an ego thing where, boxing's not short of egos. But yeah, so it is sad, but, obviously for us, we signed with you, Steve, and one of the biggest things for me was the honesty, and that is something which I found is lacking within boxing is people who are honest and blunt. You were very clear from the beginning. Look, everyone's got potential, doesn't mean you're going to reach it. You're going to have to do something about it. You were clear on, yes, boxing, only a short few get to that big sort of level. The rest, it is about ticket sales, the importance of that. And to me, people don't like to hear that, but you were very blunt and honest, and that's where from the beginning, okay, this is what it actually is involved to make it. It's not, oh, you're going to be the next big star, and none of the conversations about the hard stuff. And so when it's not going your way, okay, you can't get this show because you need to sell 200 tickets. Well, yeah, but what are you doing about it, Steve? Well, what can I do about it? It's your job to sell them, and you have to accept that as a boxer, rather than complaining that, oh, why is the promoter doing this? Why is the manager accepting this? Well, because it is all a business. Everyone's doing their bit, and as long as you've got people who are willing to be honest, I think that's what makes it, what I say, easier, makes it more clear as to what's required. And yeah, so unfortunately, like I said, there just aren't enough people doing that within boxing, which is a real shame.
Well, it's been great listening to your thoughts. It's been really interesting. I'm sure people are going to sort of pick up on this. The doctor that's learning, training with his boxer. It's a brilliant story. It's a brilliant story, and hopefully there'll be more people that want to interview you after this, because you make a good. Thanks so much for joining us, Ifran, and
no problem.
Look after yourself.
No problem.
I'll see you soon.
You too. You take care.
Cheers, Ifran.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye. And that's a very, very interesting man with a very interesting story. And we're going to move on to somebody who's going to have some interesting stories as time goes on, because he's not made his debut yet, but he was a fantastic amateur and a really nice fella. And he drove all the way from Wales to my office to have a meeting with me. And somebody that's that committed deserves every bit of support they can get. So let's get hold of Conor McIntosh. Conor, how are you?
How's it going, Steve? All right?
I'm good, my friend. You well?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
So how's it been? I mean, it's been frustrating for you, hasn't it? Because you missed your date in April in Plymouth.
Yeah. Trained really hard for it, super hard. So as well, a lot of people come in Plymouth that night. And yeah, when I found out that it had been cancelled, it was a big shock to everybody, really. I mean, the whole world's been put on stop at the moment. And recently found out as well that I'm going to be having a baby girl now, who's going to be here in September. With my long-term girlfriend. Yeah, thank you. But obviously, just worried about whether I'll be able to be in the delivery room when the baby actually comes. So it's just quite rough in the lockdown at the moment.
So it's. I mean, obviously, we're hoping to get back in the ring as soon as we possibly can, but it's going to be very, very difficult. We're totally and utterly controlled by the virus now, aren't we? As to where we sit and what's going on. And I mean, we've got a date booked in, but I don't think it's going to happen. We've got a date booked at the end of October in Plymouth, but I can't see that happening. I think realistically for Plymouth, we're looking into next year now. I think that's logical. We might get away with it back end of the year, but I think it's probably going to be next year. But you're a young man and a big future ahead of you. So tell us about your amateur career before you turn professional.
Well, I started amateur boxing when I was around 11. I won quite a lot of fights from the get-go in the juniors. Won a couple of Welsh vests. Travelled to Finland to box for Wales. Boxing the British a couple of times as well. I won a silver in the British. And after a couple of years in the seniors, then I thought it was my time to turn over. And obviously my coach, Richard Grigg, had introduced me to you, put me in contact with you. And yeah, when we had that meeting down in your offices, it was quite a bit of a trek for me to get there. But as soon as I got there, you made me feel comfortable. You told me exactly, what was going to be expected of me. You didn't sugarcoat anything, which I really liked. And a couple of my mates have gone professional with you. Obviously, Billy Stanbury's gone professional with you as well, and he had nothing but good things to say about you. So I thought, yeah, it's time to sign over now and get the ball rolling.
And how big an influence is Richard Grigg in your career?
Very big. I've known Richard around a good 7 or 8 years. His amateur club, Bideford Boxing Club, and my previous amateur boxing club, the Talbot ABC, were very close-knit. If ever we needed a couple of boxers to make a show, when sometimes, you'd get the pullouts as you do in amateur boxing, Richard would be the first person on the phone. He'd bring a couple of boys over to save a show, and vice versa. We'd always be boxing on their shows, and we'd always help each other out with sparring as well. So I think the local, because in Wales, obviously, there's different rules apply than in England. We have a local lockdown now where we can't travel around 5-mile radius, but that'll be changing from next week. So I'll be able to hopefully go down and do a couple of sessions at some point in the future with Richard. Yeah,
so I mean, Wales have been a lot stricter than we have down here, that's for sure. But they seem to have it under. You seem to have it under fairly good control over there, down there, don't you, at the moment?
I mean, I think the advantage we have is the fact that when England are putting certain rules out, we are sort of like seeing how that affects you first for a couple of weeks, and then our own rules come out then. I think we're about good 2-3 weeks behind you in terms of opening up. I think we're opening the pubs next week and the restaurants and things like that. But a lot of people do tend to be not taking any risks and just staying inside, staying in close. I mean, I haven't really been out apart from essentials. I've got a pregnant girlfriend in the house, so I need to just make sure that she's safe. Obviously, I know they're at higher risk of if they do catch the disease. So I've just been staying indoors. I'll go out to shop, train, and that's pretty much it, really.
So going on to your professional career, I mean, when you turn professional, you'll have some aspirations and some dreams and thoughts. What are they? What do you genuinely think you can achieve in the sport?
I think I could win a British title. That's my top goal at the moment. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of determination. Hopefully, I'll have the good people around me to help me go through with that. And see where we go from there. Then, if that is a possible goal. But I've got so many good family and friends who do believe in me. I believe in myself as well, because that attention from them obviously rubs off on me. And it's just trying to go as far as I possibly can, and not regret anything when I'm 40, 50, sitting in a pub saying, oh, I could have done this, could have done that. I don't want to be that guy, do you know what I mean? So
there's too many of those guys out there.
Oh, yes, yeah. I've met plenty of them, yeah.
But, well, thanks a lot for joining us, Conor. I think you've got a massive, massive future in the sport, and I would be disappointed if you're not at British level. And I think you could do it. It's a long way to go, but it's going to be a really exciting journey. So thanks a lot for joining us, and more importantly, I can't wait to see you in the ring. So take care. Cheers, Conor. Thanks a lot. It's young Conor McIntosh, who's just starting on his career, and now to a man he's only 22 years of age, had 10 fights already, only lost one, and we're going to see what young Ricky Evans is up to. So let's have a... Let's get Ricky Evans, Slick Rick. Ricky, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. So how's life with you? Because it's changed a lot, hasn't it, in the last 12 months?
Yeah, it has this unbelievable. It's a massive change. Obviously, if anyone that don't know, I just had my first little girl. Had a break from boxing for a fair while now. I think it's a year today since my last fight. Yeah, so it's a big change.
Theodore Nikolov a year ago at York Hall.
Yeah,
Seems a long time ago.
I remember it being a real hot day, and but yeah.
So obviously having the year out, having your first child, and everything else, because that's quite a key point. You're 22, you've had 10 fights.
Yeah.
A lot of people at this age now, at this period, will be saying, do I want to do boxing anymore? Or am I recommit? Do I feel like I've got a resurgence for commitment for it? Where do you sit now with boxing now you've had all these changes?
The only difference is now is obviously the financial side of things. I need where before I could get away with, as long as I was covering my bills with a little bit of work here and there. The rest of my time is spent in the gym. Now I've obviously got my little girl that I've got to provide for as well. But other than that, nothing's changed with the boxing. I've had a year out. I want to get back in there as soon as I can. It's a lot harder now to be able to give up the time and have the days off of work and pay the bills for like the medical expenses and stuff like that. But we've been doing a little bit of training. Now that we can start getting back into the gym, I've got a little gym that I'm training on my own, just ticking over, because I want to get back in there as soon as I can. Really now, I think. So we are going to see you back in the ring then. Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm hoping to get back. I've been ticking over at the moment. Other than like fight, I'm not fight fit yet, but I'm fit. I'm at the sort of level I would be when I used to start camp. I'm only 2.5 kilos off of fight weight now, or title weight now. So I've not let myself get too out of shape, and I can't wait to get back in there, basically.
And do you feel? You turned professional very young, didn't you? And a lot of people would say that. You were what, 19, I think, when
18.
you turned pro. 18.
Yeah.
When you look back at it, do you think it was too early, or are you quite happy with how it's developed?
No, I don't think it's too early. So it's a bit of a weird situation. So you get a lot of people that think that you should have like 50, 100, 150 odd amateur fights, a lot of experience. Because I only had 16 amateur fights. I never even had a senior fight. My pro debut was the first time I got in the ring with a man. But I think as an amateur, I boxed since I was 8 years old. I had my first fight at 11. But I just always struggled my whole way through the amateur career. I was in the gym all day, every day. Everyone knows that. I was always ready. But I just always struggled with getting fights. I was always injured, or I'd have fights pulling out one after the other. And it was just a nightmare. I felt like if I stayed amateur any longer, I would end up packing in boxing, because I was fed up with not being able to fight, because that's all I wanted to do. So I thought I'd turn pro, have a go, see how I could do. I remember making my debut, winning that, and the buzz was unreal. And it was just something else I wanted to do. But I know for a fact, I've said this to you before, Steve, I always find like a lot of people say I've had 10 fights now, I'm still fighting a lot of these guys that people consider journeymen. I've always found journeymen a lot harder to look against than I will with the guys that are like real top level. And I think as soon as I get back in the ring, I don't want to make a comeback again and be back in the ring with the same level I was fighting. I want to fight. If I have to go in the away corner, I'm happy to do that. I want to fight these guys with the winning records and prove that I can beat them. Because especially now with like my daughter here as well, I want to achieve what I can achieve. I don't want to just box for the sake of boxing and be one of these guys that does it to say down the pub that, oh, I used to box when I was younger. I want to go and try and win what I can win. And I believe I'll win at least the British. But when I come back, I want to get straight in the deep end.
I think that's perfectly doable. There'll be a lot of opportunities to be able to do that. And it doesn't have to be deep. It can just be harder, because deep is probably a step you just gradually foot. But there'll be opportunities to do that. There's going to be a lot of, obviously we could have we are where we are with this thing. We don't know exactly when we're going to be back to some sort of normality. But I mean, what I'll plan to do is before we really know we're going back, we'll have a proper detailed chat and get a proper plan ahead and decide exactly what we're going to do. I mean, I think you're a bit too good to just take a short notice job in an away corner, but there were 50-50 fights out there.
Yeah, of course. That's what I mean. I mean, I don't want to put myself in a situation where I jump into a fight that I'm not ready and then I go 2 steps backwards and got to build myself back up. But I'm more than happy for when I come back to get straight in those fights that are going to be 50-50. So even if it's not necessarily top level, a fight that for me coming back after a year out is going to be a 50-50. I'm happy to get in there with whoever I have to. There's plenty of boys, even some of my own mates, that have got good records that maybe struggle a little bit more than I do on tickets and may need a help. So even if they want to go in the away corner and I'll box anyone that needs to be boxed. Yeah. Mates, I know we're doing each other all a favour. It's a sport and a business at the end of the day. So
is your dad playing a big part, helping you out?
Yeah, so obviously I was training with Barry O'Connell at State of Mind before.
Yeah.
Fantastic gym and great trainer. The best trainer I've ever trained with. I've never had a single complaint about anything I've done down there, but just with like how things have changed, with having a daughter and stuff and having to work, financially it doesn't work out for me having to travel down there. So I'd like Barry to still be involved as much as he can, but I'm training with my dad now, and Les Covey, who's a bit of a veteran in his time.
He's very experienced and good boxing man, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's worked with some really great fighters. So I've been training with Les. Has always sort of helped out once or twice a week with my sort of strength work and some conditioning my whole way through. Well, from about halfway into my career till now, but now they've taken over and they're going to be the main sort of trainers for me.
Yeah, so that's really good. So you'd hope by the time you're 25 to be at the plan would be at British level within British 3 years.
Level, definitely. That's why I can't wait to get back. I know for a fact that I'll win at least an English, but I want the British is my sort of goal. I want to achieve at least that in my career. If I can do better than that, I'll do better. But I won't be happy with anything unless it's at least the British.
No, so that's good. So I mean, again, I think we've got a lot to look forward to. And again, you can't really sit and plan until I've spoke to a couple of boxers in the last week or 2 weeks ago, and it is difficult because you can't actually formulate plans at the moment. It's a very frustrating period, not only for boxers, for managers and everything else, because it's very, very hard to put significant plans in place. Yeah. But it's not going to be here forever. Hopefully there's a vaccine en route and we can get back to some sort of normality quickly. So glad to see you looking so well, Ricky. You look after yourself, and I'll see you again soon.
Cheers.
Take care.
See you, mate. Bye.
Thanks a lot. And that's a man that's going to be winning titles. And now we're going to speak to a man who's won a title. Daniel Mendes, former Southern Area champion, cruiserweight champion. He made a really big progression after his third fight. We signed him after his third fight, and he's made really good progression, won a Southern Area title. Then he lost it in a performance that he was not at his best, but he's now on the hunt for even bigger titles. And let's chat with one of the nicest guys in boxing, Mr. Daniel Mendes. But I'm afraid we might not get him because it's showing unable to join. So if I can't get hold, Daniel, I can't get hold, I'll have to postpone it till next week. I think it's your settings that you'll have to reset. But we had this before with Mickey Amu a couple of weeks ago, if you remember. It's very difficult sometimes to get set up. So we're not going to be able to speak to Daniel this week. Okay, Daniel, we'll have to try and get you on next week, and if you work with your settings, but at the moment we can't get you to join us. So thanks very much for this week. Thanks for Ifran Khalid, Conor McIntosh, Ricky Evans, Daniel Mendes. We need you back next week. Need your settings better. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll speak to you next Monday night. Thanks a lot.